G'day guys. Tonight, and I've got to do it fairly quiet because it's like midnight, I'm going to be reading you The Good Mage by Solee Stagbeetle. I'm just going to do like 1-2 chapter videos. Hopefully it encourages you guys to read a bit of fantasy, might encourage you to write a book of your own. I don't mind. I'm sure I'll get a few views out of it. So hopefully this is chapter 1. The Good Mage by Solee Stagbeetle. Copyright 2018 by Solee Stagbeetle. All rights reserved. This book or any portion thereof may not be reproduced or used in any manner whatsoever without the express written permission of the publisher, except for the use of brief quotations in a book review. Printed in New South Wales, Australia. First printed 2018. Self-published by Solee Stagbeetle. ISBN 9781644675120. Artwork by Fig Forest. About the author. Solee Forest was born in Eastern Australia in 1991. I was raised in a very rural setting. My siblings and I were all homeschooled for the early years of our lives. This, I believe, gave us a vastly different outlook of the world from many people in our age group. Saying that, it also made me a bit special when it came to socialisation in later life. At the time of writing my first book, The Good Mage, I am 26 years old. I work in a kitchen as a smartass. Sorry, I meant to say as a cook. In my spare time, I'm definitely a wizard. I also enjoy fishing, prospecting and metal detecting. I really do own the staff mentioned in the book, as well as the sword. However, I am yet to find a sapphire big enough to stick in the top of the staff. My wife, Esther, is strangely appreciative of not just being a dragon, but divorcing me in the first few chapters of the book. Some of my friends are less enthusiastic about this, but as I've tried to explain many times, I just write the story, I don't make it up. I've had far more fun and more sleepless nights worrying about the whole world I just accidentally created than I have doing anything else in my life. I'm going to keep writing this and other stories, hopefully, for years to come, and I hope that I find enough of a fan base out there to get me the hell out of this kitchen. Acknowledgements. There were so many people, both friends and not, that had an influence on the book that I should be difficult to know where to begin. It should be, but it's not. I would firstly like to thank my good friend Abby. Without her ongoing support and ridiculous enthusiasm for the story, I never would have finished it, at least not as fast as I did. I would like to thank Esther, my wife, for being so understanding of our fictional breakup. No one likes a married hero after all. To that brave knight Mitchell, thank you for saving my life many, many times, both in and out of the book. I would like to thank Eve, who, by the way, is not based on any living person, for being so damn attractive, and for giving me someone whom I can comfortably fantasize about. I would like to thank my mum and sister and brother and every one of my friends who spent time reading the book in all its stages and with all my awful grammar. I would definitely like to thank my proofreader Eliyahu for all the work he put into this book, and I apologise again for just how much work you had to do. To my father Fig, I would like to extend an extra ball of my thanks for doing the artwork on the cover for me. I know how irrational and demanding my requests and suggestions all were. I would like to thank all the bad guys in my book. Half you are real and half you are not. But thank you for being such shitty people that I can easily turn you into fictional villains. Magic. It is assumed amongst much of the populace and all of the scientific community that magic is either a figment of a warped mind, like a great deal of the world around us, or another name for science. Something we don't yet understand, but which most definitely has a reasonable, or at least mostly reasonable explanation. I see magic a bit differently. I believe our world is not devoid of the arts of magic, but rather magic itself has not yet broken through to our realm. In an infinite universe, there are forces appearing and disappearing constantly. Think of it as a scientific type experiment. Light travels at about 300,000 kilometers per second and has been traveling in all directions for about 13.5 billion years. Magic travels slightly faster, about 12 kilometers per second faster. This is partially in its nature, but almost definitely to annoy physicists the universe over. Magic, however, unlike light, needs living things to exist, so it's only been travelling for about 9.5 billion years, since life appeared somewhere in the cosmos. Even with its annoying 12 km per second lead over light, Magic still has a fair bit of time before it gets close to catching up with its far less interesting competitor. So we start our story 9,500,000,000,2018 years after magic first stared back at the first staring creature on a somewhat interesting planet, our planet, ruled at that time by only one species of bipedal creatures, the human race. These humans knew enough about magic to have imagined it for a few thousand years, yet also completely denied its existence. On a simply huge island known as Australia, the very first wizard came to be. Chapter 1. Well, he had already been for approximately 26 revolutions around the sun, but for much of that time he had worked in a kitchen. His mind itched for adventure and reason, but he seemed stuck in the boring day-to-day life of a world of marginal possibilities and weak to non-existent magical field. I should probably introduce myself. My name is Solee, first wizard of the Age of Magic. How do I know I'm the first? I don't. I made it up. Catchy name though, right? I've spent my life believing, beyond reason, that magic is just around the corner, that I just have to figure it out and the world will become clearer, or at least a little bit more interesting. On this particular day, I'm getting ready for work. It is 9 AM on a Monday, and the wave of magic that has been travelling for all that time finally collides with our solar system. In minutes, it crashes into Earth's atmosphere, altering the very fabric of reality the globe over. As the fast-travelling wave of magic shoots from pole to pole, a small part of our minds, of every creature's mind, the part that screams for adventure, for meaning and understanding, sends out a tiny puff of transmutation magic. Technology as we knew it shifts, dissolves, grows scaly legs, or vanishes altogether. This does a few things. It gives the natural world far more power than it had before, and it removes a lot of the damage which human beings had spent a lot of their existence causing. It also kills a lot of people. The change to the whole world takes only half a minute, as far as I can tell. Not only has the world changed, even to the degree of shifting continents, but it has also grown. Rifts appear between land masses and bridges appear over water. Apart from the tingling sensation and the blinding flash, the first thing I notice is a plane explode into a few thousand winged creatures, and the few hundred people inside falling several hundred metres onto some rather unforgiving ground. A few are lucky. They fly or hover or are carried away by the winged things, but most, through sheer lack of adaptive power, fall to their deaths. The cars are the biggest killer. Going from even 60 kilometres an hour within a solid vehicle to going 60 kilometres an hour without a solid vehicle is more than a little shocking. I turn from the falling spectacle high above me, expecting to see my car, but instead I see a 3-metre tall minotaur meld into existence from a forward laser. The only person more surprised than I suspect, is the minotaur itself. It's not just magical energy which had finally arrived, but the creatures we have associated it with. No one forgets about the old world, but everyone who is left somehow knows a great deal about the new one. The great beast turns its rather confused red eyes upon me. It wields a truly enormous double-bladed axe. Stunned, it stares for a moment, most likely coming to grips with its own existence. Although the whole world had changed, it takes some time for minds to adjust to new knowledge and experiences that hadn't existed just moments ago. I do what any reasonable, self-respecting bastard would do. I run straight past the minotaur, down what had seconds ago been my street, but is now a corpse-strewn eucalypt forest. Minotaurs are notoriously bad-tempered, but more so than my laser ever had been. But they're also relatively stupid and have a far worse turning circle as well. I keep running. I know what has happened. It has something to do with the magic itself that we all realise what has happened. Just moments later. That doesn't make it any less surprising. Running till I come to a thicket of cockspur too thick to get far into. I get stuck by the clothing that I wasn't aware I have on. A robe of deep indigo has replaced my jeans and shirt. All of this is quite marvellous, except being stuck in a mass of thorny branches. Thorny branches that seem to be moving. Like a crown of thorn starfish, the vines entwine my torso and move painfully up my body. I can feel pinpricks where it pierces my robe, from my shins to my chin. I'm jerked up as the damn spiky thing pulls me straight up through the prickly thicket. I now find myself hanging upside down, staring at a truly hideous monster. Somewhere between a squid and a spider, and standing around 4 metres tall. The beast stands on slim, trunk-like legs with dozens of waving, hooked tentacle-like arms that mimic the cockspur vine beneath it. I stare in disgust at its 4 gleaming silver-grey eyes, set above a beak rimmed with what looks like many small mouths of razor wire. It suddenly dawns on me. This is a wicker spider. I try snapping the vines, but they are far stronger than the thin branches they mimic. The barbs dig into my palms painfully, and after sustaining several deep wounds, I decide on a different approach. I concentrate on the air around me, condensing it into a blade, microns thin. I slash at the thickest tentacles, which break easily under the blade's razor edge. The spider screams with pain and drops me back into the sharp branches below. I land roughly on my back, suspended just off the hard ground by some of the lower branches. I quickly untangle myself and flee the area before the infuriated spider can capture me again. I sprint 100 metres or so before slowing to avoid any other nasties in the newly born area. There is little evidence of civilization around me. A vague, overgrown dirt track has apparently replaced the bitumen road, and an old-growth forest has replaced the houses and power lines. I can't see the Minotaur anywhere. However, I can't see my house either, or my wife, stepdaughter, or neighbours, which is more than a little troubling. With few other options, I start up the road looking for some resemblance of the township I had known. Many bodies litter the track. They slowly shift as well. Even the dead are affected by magic. Some turn into various beasts, none of which, thankfully, take any interest in me. Others, however, dissolve into the ground. None of those which died in the first moments of the change are remembered in the magical world. The only thing that has some resemblance to a house is a dark tunnel under a large ironbark. The roots of the tree seem to have grown around the tunnel, directed by some unseen force. The tunnel looks familiar, as does the obsidian snout and set of intelligent canine eyes which follow. Flint? I ask in amazement. Flint had been one of my dogs. He was a half Jack Russell, half Pomeranian Chihuahua. He used to stand around 20 centimetres tall at the shoulder and would try and eat the postman most days. He now stands just over a metre at the shoulder. He is covered in gleaming obsidian feathers, which clink together lightly as he moves his muscular form. He has strong feline legs ending in the sharp curving talons of a raptor, and holds folded on his back 2 strong, glistening wings. He can now most definitely eat that postman with little trouble. He looks me over curiously, cocking his head to one side. "Hello, Solee," Flint says in a gravelly voice, an evil grin crossing his canine face. "Isn't this an interesting new world?" He steps out into the sunlight, stretches his muscular stone form. "Esther will be most interested to see you." He chuckles and spits out what was probably the postman's ear. He says the word interested, very similar to how you might say the word tasty. "It's a shame you're a mere human, but she may hold some affection for you still." "Enter," he says. "See your wife." He snorts in amusement, turns and stalks off with no more interest in my mere human form. I look into the abysmal depth, which, hours ago, would have been my house. With few other options available, and a fair hope I won't be eaten, I descend into the gloom. The hole, which from above looks like a great warren, slowly changes as I descend into a roughly paved passageway with magical torches giving off eerie blue light, set every 20 metres or so along the corridor. I walk for several minutes, descending ever downwards, occasionally turning sharp bends. The air drops in temperature to an uncomfortable degree, and I shiver and hold my robes tighter about my slim frame. I turn one final time into a large cavern which stretches off into the blackness. A vast, crystal-clear pool of water radiates chill air towards me. I start towards the edge of the glowing lake and stare into its enchanting depths. Spooked fish with glowing fins shoot off into the middle of the lake, leaving iridescent ripples in their wake. A shudder emanates from the gloom around me. The water seems to vibrate. Waves slosh back against the bank, wetting my boots with freezing water. Far below, in the icy depths, 2 pinpricks of light slowly grow as something large rises to meet me. End of chapter 1. Man, really hard to read out loud to yourself. Seems a bit weird. Also, your mouth gets all dry, you get all nervous. Your shallot's shaking like a leaf. Anyway, chapter 1 of the Good Mage, including intro and all that other goobar you just listened to. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you want to read it yourself and imagine maybe the characters' voices, or if you're too impatient to, wait till next week to read the rest of it, head on over to soleestagbeetle.com. I think that's the page. Yep, that's the one. There'll be a link to my eBay where you can buy a book, or go to Amazon, look up The Good Mage by Solee Stagbeetle. and you can find him there. Kindle edition, I think they're only like $1 at the moment, something like that. Anyway, it'd be really good if you could support me. First time writer, first book, second one will be out in December. Thanks for watching, guys.